Imagine you're cruising peacefully at 12,000 feet, the drone of the engine's a familiar comfort. Then, without warning, this small propeller, maybe the size of a dinner plate, it just screams into life outside your window. And the whole plane shudders. What on earth is going on? Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into a truly fascinating and, yeah, initially a bit unsettling incident, the unexpected mid-flight deployment of a Ram Air Turbine, or RAT, on a Boeing 787. We've gathered some incredible source material here. We've got first-hand accounts from the cockpit air traffic control recordings, too. Our mission, to understand what a RAT is, why it deploys, and really how pilots and ATC manage such a rare and, well, chaotic situation in the air, how they transform it from potential calamity into a safe landing.
Yeah, and what's really compelling about this event, I think, is how multiple critical systems just converge. You've got mechanical, electrical, human decision-making, communication protocols, all hitting this moment of extreme, unexpected stress. And it really raises an important question for you, the listener. How do complex systems like this respond when something highly unusual occurs?
Yeah.
And what does it tell us about the layers of safety built into modern aviation?
Okay, so let's set the scene for this specific incident. We're talking about a LATAM Boeing 787 Chile's national carrier. Climbing steadily out of Los Angeles International, LAX, around 12,000 feet, heading for Chile, and then bam, it's RAT unexpectedly deployed. The initial communication from the pilot back to the American controller was, well, pretty telling, wasn't it?
It really was. First, he says everything's okay, which, you can imagine is that initial moment of assessment.
Right, trying to figure out what just happened.
Exactly. But then, much more clearly, much more precisely, he confirms, we have a Romeo Alpha Tango and unlocked at this time, using the phonetic alphabet, RAT, for absolute clarity. No room for error there.
And the sensory overload in that cockpit, wow. Our sources say it was profound. Picture this. You've got an immediate alert flashing on your main display, the IC-cast screen. Just says, Ram Air Turbine, when the sound hits. This RAT, this small propeller, starts to scream.
Yeah, described as almost supersonic. Just a god-awful noise was the quote, I believe. Something that would definitely get your attention and probably reverberate through the whole cabin.
Oh, absolutely. And if that wasn't enough, the cockpit phone starts like ringing off the hook. Flight attendants calling from the back, understandably concerned, asking about this mysterious, incredibly loud noise.
You can just imagine the ding, ding, ding noise they mention while they're trying to keep passengers calm. It must have been intense. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, it really highlights the critical role of pilot training, especially for these high-stress, snap decision moments.
That initial, everything's okay, it probably reflected that split second of processing, right?
Almost certainly. Trying to get a handle on the data before fully grasping the situation. Pilots are rigorously trained to break through what they call the shock effect when something sudden happens. There's a specific phrase, almost a mantra, my aircraft.
Ah, right. One pilot takes the controls.
Exactly. One pilot focuses solely on flying the plane, maintaining control. The other immediately jumps into troubleshooting and communication, running checklists, talking to ATC, talking to the flight attendants. It's about regaining control fast and systematically dealing with the emergency as a team.
It's genuinely incredible how that training kicks in for such a rapid, coordinated response. So let's talk about the star of our show then. It's the RAT itself. What exactly is a Ram Air Turbine?
Okay, simply put, it's a small propeller, often likened, like you said, to a dinner plate size. It extends out from the aircraft's fuselage.
And it's basically a lifesaver.
Quite literally, yes. Which brings up that important question. Why does an airplane even have a propeller that deploys mid-flight, screaming like that?
Yeah, why?
Well, it's a critical, last resort backup power source. If you have a severe power failure, the RIT spins in the airflow, generating both electricity and hydraulic pressure.
Okay, so power for what exactly? What does it keep running?
Central systems. Enough for at least one radio, critically important. One instrument landing system, or ILS approach, that's your guided approach to the runway. And most of the instruments on the captain's side.
And the hydraulic pressure.
Vital. That's what allows the pilot, usually the captain, to physically fly and control the airplane. Without hydraulics, moving the control surfaces is difficult, to say the least. It's really designed for those worst-case scenarios, like losing both engines. Ensures you can still fly the plane down safely. Think Gimli glider, though that was a different plane, obviously.
That's a huge peace of mind, knowing that backup exists. Now, for you listening, you might be wondering, what specific conditions actually trigger a RAT deployment, especially on a modern jet like the 787?
Right. What makes it pop out?
Mm.
Our sources point to a few known reasons. A significant electrical failure is a big one.
And there's some debate if it has to be total failure or just significant.
Yeah, that's an ongoing question in the aviation community.
Yeah.
Does significant mean total loss or just a big drop? The threshold isn't always public knowledge. Same debate applies to a significant hydraulic failure.
Okay.
Then you have the aircraft's own computer logic, the airborne logic system. It's designed to automatically deploy the RAT if systems degrade past a certain programmed point.
Like a failsafe.
Exactly. And of course, the most dramatic reason, both engines failing.
Wow.
But here's a surprising one, perhaps. It can also be manually deployed.
Manually, so the pilots can just decide to pop it out.
Yep. Captain or first officer can remove a protective cover, hit a button, deploy it. Anytime, anywhere, while airborne. And what's fascinating here is the system's intelligence, particularly its ground logic.
Ground logic.
Meaning the RAT won't automatically deploy for those same system failures if the aircraft is on the ground.
Ah, because it knows it's not flying.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It uses weight on wheels logic.
Mhm.
The aircraft senses it's stationary or taxiing. It's just not needed on the ground, and frankly, it'd be a major pain if it deployed at the gate every time you shut down.
Ah, yeah, I can imagine.
So manual deployment is the only way to get it out on the ground. And this highlights a really interesting design philosophy question, doesn't it? Do you design the RAC to deploy only in absolute catastrophe or more proactively for any significant system degradation?
And the 787 seems to lean towards the proactive side.
It seems that way, deploying for a significant electrical failure even with engines running. It suggests a maybe more cautious logic, which is a fascinating choice with its own trade-offs, you know.
Definitely. So, okay, this thing deploys mid-flight. Chaos potentially ensues in the cockpit. How does ATC handle it from the ground?
ATC's response is absolutely crucial. Immediately, they'll ask the pilot for intentions. LATAM XXX, what are your intentions? Keep going or return.
Makes sense. Assess the pilot's plan first.
But a really important detail here, and something that happened in this case, is that ATC can actually declare an emergency for the crew.
Oh, they can do that.
Yes. And it's often considered a good call when pilots are clearly overloaded. Think about it. They're running checklists, maybe dealing with that screaming noise, talking to flight attendants about passenger concerns.
Yeah, I bet their hands full.
So ATC declaring the emergency just takes one thing off their plate, and crucially, it immediately grants the aircraft priority handling for landing. Clears the way.
Which is vital for getting back safely and quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this brings us to a broader point.
Mm-hmm.
The incredible coordination required, especially at a super busy airport like LAX.
Right. Managing LAX airspace is complex on a normal day.
Exactly. The challenge for ATC is immense. They need to carve out a big, clear chunk of sky for that emergency aircraft to maneuver and return.
How do they even do that?
Their solution often involved what you heard in those communications, speeding up other traffic. They'll tell other planes, like the American and United flights mentioned, okay, maintain best forward speed, or I'm going to keep you fast for the next 15 miles. You good with that?
Pushing them ahead to create a gap behind them.
Precisely. Because eventually those faster planes will need to slow down for their own approaches, but it creates that necessary window. It's really a testament to the seamless orchestration needed to keep things safe and flowing even under pressure.
And sometimes they even ask about needing ground power, right, an APU.
Yeah, they might ask if the crew will need the auxiliary power unit, the APU, started once they land, just anticipating potential needs on the ground, proactive thinking.
It's not just about airspace management, though, is it? There are other challenges with a deployed RA.
Definitely, that loud noise we talked about. Combine that with the turbulent air the RA itself creates. It can really mess with radio transmissions. It can make the radio incredibly loud, full of static, just really hard to hear clearly. Imagine trying to get critical instructions with that constant buzz or roar in your ears.
Yeah, communication breakdown is the last thing you need.
Exactly. Adds another layer of difficulty to an already stressful situation.
Yet, despite all those challenges, the noise, the communication issues, the emergency itself, the LATAM 787 made an uneventful approach and landing. Runway 25 left at LAX.
That's right. Smooth landing, taxied off to the gate without any further issues.
And importantly, the RAT itself doesn't hang down so low it hits the runway or anything, right?
Correct. It's specifically designed not to interfere with the landing gear or the ground contact. It allows for a safe landing while extended, part of the safety design.
So what was the final word on the root cause for this specific incident? Why did it deploy?
The investigation pointed to a significant electrical failure during climb-out.
Okay, an electrical issue.
Right. And interestingly, even though the main engines were still running fine and other systems might have even come back online, like maybe the crew started the APU for extra power.
Yeah.
The RAT, once it's deployed, it stays deployed and spinning. But the aircraft's computer logic is smart. If the primary systems, like the engine generators or the APU, come back online and restore power.
The RAT stops providing power.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The computer blocks it from supplying power or hydraulics. It knows the main systems are back. It keeps spinning because of the airflow, but it's effectively disconnected from feeding the aircraft systems.
Like a redundant backup that steps aside gracefully once the main grid is back online. Prevents conflicts.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Prevents power surges or system conflicts, even though it's still physically out there catching the wind.
So the planes on the ground, RAT's still sticking out. How do they get it back in?
Well, that's the thing. The RAT is strictly a one-way operation in the air.
Meaning?
It deploys, and it stays out. It doesn't retract mid-flight. Pilots can't just flip a switch to put it away.
Yeah. So it needs ground crew intervention.
Yeah, absolutely. Maintenance crews on the ground have to physically, manually push it back into its housing, lock it securely, close the access door, and then, importantly, reset the computer logic associated with it.
Right, tell the plane's brain that it's stowed again.
You got it. It's a ground maintenance task. And another interesting point here, while this specific incident ended well, it's actually considered very unusual for RA to deploy unexpectedly like this in flight.
Really? It's that rare.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
But there have been apparently a few such incidents on the 787 model, specifically in recent times. Yeah. Which the aviation community finds kind of a head-scratcher.
So questions were made about why these might be happening on this particular airframe.
Yeah, it certainly prompts ongoing interest in Boeing's perspective on these events, especially given that potentially overly cautious deployment logic we talked about earlier. Is it triggering too easily, perhaps? That's the question people are asking.
Fascinating. So from that clear Romeo Alpha Tango call at 12,000 feet, all the way to a smooth landing with a screaming propeller hanging out, we've really unpacked a complex dance here, haven't we? Between the advanced aircraft systems, the pilot's sharp expertise, and that highly coordinated air traffic control response.
It truly is. And it serves as a powerful testament, I think, to the multiple layers of safety built into modern aviation. Even when something totally unexpected happens, the system is designed overall to manage it and aim for that safe return.
Absolutely, transforming potential calamity into a safe outcome.
But you know, this deep dive into the R-Rate deployment really highlights something important. Even our most advanced aircraft, packed with redundancies, can throw up surprising challenges. Challenges that test both the tech and the human element. This incident, where a system designed for the direst emergency deployed unexpectedly, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do we keep refining the logic in these incredibly complex machines? And maybe just as importantly, how do we ensure our human systems, the pilots, the controllers, are equally prepared to adapt and innovate when the unexpected becomes reality?